Good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us here on The Link. Now it's the shopping season and people are clicking for the best discounts, the best offers as far as online stores are concerned, or even most recently you do have the social media stores. And of course the prices are going down and lowering as we edge towards the end of Black November. But at the same time you do have the flip side of this, as you have to get attracted to making a purchase online. You're going to make an online payment. But how safe is your online payment is the first question that we want to answer here on The Link this evening. The second thing that we also want to bring to your attention is the reality of the fact that there is somebody out there in a black eye that is watching your every online payment move and can use that as an opportunity to scam you. Many of you have received interesting links that are leading you to potential prizes, and then you get to be scammed of your information and your data is, sort of lost in all of that. And then you end up receiving an SMS on your phone or from your bank telling you that you have made an online purchase. And this is without your awareness by and large. Coincidentally, today is the 20th of November and it is the Utility Scam Awareness Day globally. And so The Link is seizing this opportunity to actually talk to you about online payments. What are the risks involved, but also how do you get to protect yourself, and therefore the protection mechanisms. I am Priscilla Regina Naloga and welcome to The Link. My guest this evening is Douglas Bugeiga. He is an information systems boss. He is a manager in that regard. He's an auditor with information systems, but also he's an authentic ethical hacker with 15 years of experience. Good evening to you, Douglas.
Good evening, Priscilla.
How are you?
Good, good. How are you?
Very good. We want to first understand online payments because it's a shopping season, and so help us understand what are online payments per se and what are the classifications that are out there.
Yeah, so I think the best way is to start with, how do we get to online payments? Initially, before way back in the day, if you had money, if you wanted to buy something, just get money from your pocket and pay the vendor, you get your goods and off you go. But in this day and age, the people we're buying things from are miles and miles away. They are overseas, they are several miles away. So we need a system to facilitate the transfer of money from our pockets to those people. And we do this using any digital devices that we have, computers, phones, or any other handheld devices. So online payments are really a way of facilitating that transfer of money from you to someone who is far remote using any digital platform. All
right. What are the most common online payment tools that Ugandans are using?
Sure. So, I mean, one of the most really very common ones is mobile money. Mobile money is an online payment platform. Many people are using Visa, people are using PayPal, people are using MasterCard, Union Pay, people are using these also local smaller applications that work like MasterCard and Visa and help you facilitate online transactions as well. Okay.
Yeah. And on the other side, of course, there are players in these online payment systems. Who are those players that people day-to-day do engage with?
Yeah, so the players are the people that I've mentioned, the platforms that I've mentioned. I just gave examples. Of course, in mobile money, we have really the biggest players are MTN and Airtel. Visa is a platform on its own. It's regulated mainly in the US and in the EU. I think Union Pay is Chinese. And then there's smaller, like I said, smaller players like Sente, which is locally grown, locally owned. It's now going regional, but it is still facilitating payments across Uganda and across the region. So those are the ones that people are interacting with most of the time.
All right, so through those interactions, quite a number of people have been scammed between you and me. Most recently, a friend of mine sent me a link to go to a site, and it's a very genuine site, and that site is actually doing promotions right now for Black November. And when I went to the site, it's going to be cast here on the board, and it's showing you really how I had to go through all these systems and levels to be able to then get awarded a iPhone 15 Pro Max.
Yeah.
That is the reward that I was getting at the end of the day, but I had to then share my private information, and they were asking me for my private information, and so it begs the question, how are scams working today, you know, being opportunistic of online payments?
Sure.
Yeah.
So you have to understand the mechanism of a scam is they are taking advantage of your, you know, you see it's a good deal. It always sounds like a good deal. And I think I've said previously on this show that if you're not buying a product, most likely you are the product.
Yeah.
So what they want is to try and convince you that, oh, there's a very good deal here. You give them your private information.
They were telling me, congratulations, through the questionnaire you'll have a chance to get an iPhone and much more. And then I went ahead and then you know, picked one of the boxes, and voila, I got to be congratulations. And they were asking me few questions, you know, my age, category. They were asking me what is my sex, and some other private information. And then what I found most interesting is that there was an account of people who were saying that they had benefited from the same kind of arrangement. Right.
Those are just bots that have been created to say that they benefited. But you always have to ask yourself, if I win the iPhone, what am I giving back? It's a very capitalist world that we live in. You don't just get an iPhone for free. I mean, we know this. So there must be something they're taking from you. So if someone is offering you something, you need to ask yourself, what am I giving back? Is it my private information? Is it my account details? In the digital world now, your private information, your age, your sex, your likes, your dislikes, all of those are what create who you are. And you know, online marketers, for example, are interested in that information. So that is the commodity that you're giving to them. That is what you're selling to them. And that is really, it's not even the worst part. The worst part is if you give them your account details. Because they could say, for example, for you to win an account, for you to win an iPhone, you need to log in here, give us your credentials for X or for Instagram, so that we can post something, or so that we can, you know, declare you a winner on our platform, on our X platform, and then you put in your username and password, and they capture them, and before you know it, they've locked you out, and they are sending out all sorts of things. Okay. So yeah. So how do you protect yourself?
Before we go into how to protect yourself, could you tell us the specific scams that are on the market right now? I know there's one called phishing and quite a number of others.
So the phishing scams are really usually the baselines and the beginning of a scam. So, because remember, they're trying to get something from you. What phishing is really to try and convince you that, oh, you know, there's something interesting, give us information, we'll give it back. We'll give you something in return. Okay. It could also be a threat. You know, they will send you an email and say, we have discovered some very private information, some very private pictures of yours online. Reach out to us on this email so that we don't release them. You know, something like that. And then when you do that, you still supply your information, whatever kind of information you give them, and then they will use that. So phishing, I would say, is the most basic and really the starting phase of most of the scams that are happening now. Okay. The other ones which still fall in the category of phishing is, you know, people calling you and they're telling you, we are from such and such a company, would like to, you know, reset your password because of this and that. Could you give us the 5-digit number or the 4-digit number that we've just sent to your phone? You know, because you're probably acting in a haste, you're rushing for a meeting, they've threatened that they're going to block your account, you're afraid, and you just send it to them, and before you know it, they've taken over your maybe mobile money account. So phishing is, I would say, is the most common. It's the one that is really prolific right now. Yes.
All right. So how do people tell that these are scams? How do they tell that these links are coming from scammers or hackers?
Yeah. So there are hallmarks of a scam. They are really standard hallmarks of a scam. There is what we call a URL. A URL is, for example, when you say, let's say www.ntv.co.ug, that is a URL for NTV. I hope I have it correct, but that is the authentic URL of NTV. Usually whenever you open a link, you want to look at that URL. So if someone is claiming they're from MTN and they've sent you a link that takes you to your mobile money account, when you open that link, which you shouldn't if you knew, but assuming you don't know, if you went ahead and opened it, please look at that URL, because then you'll find instead of mtn.co.ug, it's mtn.gz.ug.
Okay. How about the ones that have before the .mtn, it's shb, something like that?
Well, you see, that part of the URL may not be the most important, because people will use the most important part of the URL is the one that comes at the end, before .ac.ug, before that last bit. So there's the NTV URL is known. It will end with .ntv.co.ug. Anything beyond that, the part before ntv.co.ug can be anything, because that could be your email, it could be something that they use for accessing certain internal things, so that you would never know what is supposed to be there. But the last bit has got to be .ntv.co.ug. The easiest way is to just dash to the website and actually see the authentic website and see what the URL is. So if someone is claiming, I am from MTN, you should, at the back of your mind, maybe have an idea what the MTN URL looks like.
All right.
So that is if you're operating online. But like I said, the scams and the phishing they're all coming, they're coming through ways that are not even through your computer. They're coming through someone calling.
So what are the protection mechanisms that people need to apply now? Because we're talking about money and it can easily be transferred with the inclusion of AI and technology. People's money can simply disappear from their accounts without them even clicking a single thing, simply because they interacted with an online platform for payment. And so how do they get to protect themselves?
So first and foremost is being vigilant. Like I said, look out for those URLs. Make sure you're paying attention. What you click, you have to look at it. Don't just click and keep quiet and wait for something to happen. Number two, if you have a phone that has a very shady origin, if I could use that word. If you have a phone that has a shady origin, it means some of the security controls that are usually inbuilt within the smartphones has been taken out. So if someone sends a link, it could easily install something on your phone without you knowing. Usually the phones that we have, if it's authentic, it will have some protections to prevent that. Number three, if you can install antiviruses that are authentic, please go ahead. You need to sort of educate yourself and know what is going on in the market for you to always know that you have to take the extra precaution. Do not open links that, just be very careful with links that promise things where you're not buying anything, you're not spending on anything, but you're getting rewards.
Okay, thank you so much, Douglas. I hope that this information has been value addition for you as you make those online payments, as you put out your information out there to the online public. Be mindful of who's going to be using it, lest you are phished. It's been The Link. I am Priscilla Regina Naluoga. Good night.